Afternoon. I don't know. It's been not been too long since I've seen you guys. So, no, it was so kind of just recapping and things like that. It was, as good as what I thought in a lot of different ways. And so there's a lot of guys that got a lot of action, got a lot of guys that stepped up after watching the film, and really was an impressive day and a day that we needed in a lot of ways. So I know for myself, I just bring it back up to the 41 seconds to go in the end of the third quarter. And I was trying to communicate to our offensive coordinator to run the football so that we could get to the fourth quarter. And for the first time, I could head down and enjoy jump around a little bit. Wanted to get down there closer to the student section and put our team down there for the start of the fourth quarter. It didn't quite happen. And then on 3rd and 10, we break it and score a touchdown. We still got to kick off and go the other direction before we can get to the fourth quarter. But after watching and things like that, it was a really, really good day for a lot of people, for a lot of us. Like I said, we had some adversity. We had some situations that we had to react to and handle, whether there's interceptions, whether there's red zone stops defensively. But then there were a lot of opportunities for some younger guys even to get in there and play some significant ball. And it was great to get those guys and see those guys and let them, kind of perform a little bit on Saturday. So good things to build upon. And I think that's where we got to continue to grow. We know this is a mountain. We know this is a mountain to climb. And we've talked about it. We've kind of put that in front of us. But you've got to take forward steps more than anything in order to climb a mountain. And I think that's where we've just continued to hammer upon. And for me, winning is obviously very easy to evaluate, but growing and playing better and playing together and playing complementary football is really what it's all about as you're growing and doing the things you're doing. And that's what we were able to see on Saturday. And now we got to take another step and continue to do it on a consistent basis.
Luke, in your experience, when you have different running backs rotating in and out, what's the process of a running back gaining chemistry with the offensive line and how that unit blocks?
Yeah, I'd like to say I know. I was a fullback in 5th grade maybe, but I don't know exactly what the chemistry is. I know that we all get a feeling for the things that guys can do and when they can, get a little bit hotter. And, that's what was, I think, a little bit tougher for us as we got, in the first 4 games. I remember all the way back to being at Cincinnati and kind of saying the same things and trying to figure out what guys give us not just the best chance to have success, but, like I said, how are you running things does have a little bit to do with, the guy that's actually being handed the ball and what their strengths are and what they do really well and their opportunities to see more of those guys in front of them. So there's a combination, just like it is with the O-line guys. Those guys have got to find, got to work together. They got to get it in a groove together. I do think there's something to the backs for the whole offense, understanding not just what they do well, but how they do it and ability to, adapt a little bit to, them and how they do things.
Luke, you often talk about, building that depth, being able to rotate guys. And I guess I'm wondering, as far as the team goes, offense or defense, what position groups do you feel, you're close to, or you really like kind of the rotation that's in place, at least at the moment, in terms of snaps?
We've talked a lot about the running back spot. I mean, I think there's, good problem to have. You got some depth there, so you're trying to figure out what's the best rotation, what's the best amount of snaps. D-line wise in particular, both at the edges and inside, we've done a good job at rolling. I think we did a better job this past week. Nobody's played over 45 snaps or 40 snaps in a game, I think. I still think that we're trying to figure, some of those spots out. It's not as easy in other spots. We've rolled at the middle linebacker spot a little bit more than maybe I thought, because Jake Chaney and Tackett's played in there a bunch and early on as well. So they've had a good vision for what they need to do and not just waiting till they get in a good position to do it. And I think that's where you're starting to see us find a little bit better groove of that. We haven't done that a whole lot on the offensive line, which is, I think, always going to be difficult. I think last year we started off rolling a little bit in the O-line, and I don't think it gave us what we needed. So I think every position is a little bit independent of that. We're all trying to build the depth. But I think we saw some things even at the wide receiver spot where it wasn't just a natural role, but some guys went down and some other guys had to step up and play a larger role than what they had. So I don't think there's one group I could say other than maybe the D-line that as we went in knew that we had to consistently make sure we got ourselves into a role and find ways to figure out how much guys can play and where do they play their best. The other ones are still, an opportunity, still trying to figure it out. Right? I mean, I think the safety position is probably one of the only positions with Hunter and maybe Preston that are the guys that are playing, 90-some% of the snaps. But I think everybody else other than O-line, there's a decent role.
Luke, when you put up 52 points, it's obviously a good day for the offense. How much do you weigh whether you're turning a corner and you found something in this system for the rest of the season versus you did it against a team that's struggling?
Yeah, I think there's both. I think that, you got to find and see and feel the positives, and when you give guys opportunities to make plays, they start to recognize not only can they do it, but how they can do it. So, again, I think the thing that I'm happiest about watching being out there on Saturday, watching it on Sunday, and then moving forward, there was a lot of growth. Growth led to some big plays in the game, and growth led to maybe a lopsided win. But it wasn't something that was just kind of handed to them. I do think that, only being 21-6 at half, and in a situation where the middle eight, you really did a really good job in, which made the difference in the ball game. It allowed us to, have those things where we, had to really work at it and find some ways. And so I think you gain confidence from both, right? From, putting up points and seeing big plays. But as you watch it on film, I think you gain more confidence from the consistency in the way that which you did things.
Hey, Luke, you talk about, being able to play, obviously, a lot of young guys. Kevin Haywood, 34, 35 snaps. Going back, just what stood out about his performance and how can that be something he builds off of?
No, it was in a time where even the head coach was looking and say, "Whoa, hold on, what we're making rotations now." And obviously, it was a little bit of a situation with Jack that we had to, but it put him in a great opportunity. But it put him in a situation where he had to play. It wasn't a situation where, hey, we're just going to run the football. We're going to do the things that we've done the first day or second day of spring ball. It was like, look, man, we're still in a battle here, and we've got to see what you got. And I thought it was a good one for him too, because it was a team that was a little bit more consistent in what they were doing. We knew a lot of the looks that you were going to be in. They're tough looks, they're bare looks, they're fronts where they're going to be pressuring. But on a young guy, I think it was a great kind of opportunity to get in there and recognize the things that you're still seeing, because it's the 35th play of the game. It's the beginning of the third quarter. It's not a young guy walking in not knowing, the second series of the game, okay, what's been going on? You got the iPads and things. So I think there was a really good transition for him to be able to walk in there, have some confidence, and play well, and he did.
I think this will be the second straight game y'all play where both starting quarterbacks are transfers. I think more than half the Big Ten starting quarterbacks are transfers this year. Has it surprised you just how many schools have gone to the transfer portal to find starting quarterbacks, and why do you think it's been the case?
I don't know. I think for some of us, just like them, you're new coaches, right? I mean, you're second-year coaches. When you walk in a place, sometimes, for us, I don't know if it was like that for them, that there wasn't a whole lot of things sitting there, right? Whether, guys left, because of the change, or maybe they hadn't done a good enough job at keeping that room full, or maybe there's a change of system. So there's a lot of different things, I think. So that combination with, obviously transfers, that combination with, some of these guys that are even, 5 stars, 4 stars out of high school that go someplace and don't want to sit, right? And so they're anxious after a year or two to move on, gives you an opportunity to take somebody maybe with a little bit more talent than you think you got on your roster. I don't know that it's going away. I think this position in particular, everybody understands and knows that in football, I don't care if it's college football, NFL football, high school football, the quarterback position is critical in everything that we do. And there's not many teams today that can get by without having a guy at that position that can make plays and run an offense. And it wasn't like that, I don't even know, even 15 years ago maybe. I mean, obviously, once Nick Saban at Alabama said that good offenses beat good defenses, I think everybody kind of recognized, like, you can't just win with defense anymore. So I don't think it's a transition that's going back the other way. It doesn't mean that you aren't still going to recruit high school kids. I just think that there's going to be a lot of options out there, and people are going to take chances with them.
Luke, you mentioned the end of the third quarter. What about the end of the second quarter? Was some of the indecision maybe there on that drive where you guys didn't call timeout until?
So what indecision?
I'm asking what went into that led you to eventually call timeout. Where was the?
What did it cost us? I'm
that's what I'm saying. It didn't cost you anything, but I'm wondering.
I just didn't know if you knew. It cost us 4 seconds.
Okay.
It cost us 4 seconds. So we didn't call a timeout until I think it was 19 seconds left. I think. And I should have called it with 23 seconds. I think that we got a first down. We're in a position where, hey, if you can snap the ball with 22 seconds, then you're not going to spike it. Obviously, we weren't going to spike it. We were in a situation where we had 2 timeouts. But I kind of assumed, and I shouldn't assume, that we were close enough to where we were that everybody wasn't going to take a time to, us to get around it. We would have time. We could get to the line, maybe lose a second or two and snap the ball before having, because of the first down. As I noticed, we didn't have it. We weren't ready to roll, and so it cost us 4 seconds. And yeah, I look back at that. That's we aren't just celebrating a victory and things like that. We're looking at ways we can get better, and that's one right there that cost us 4 seconds. Not as many people talk about it because 2 plays later we run the ball in. But had we not, I'll just tell you, had we gone hurry up with 9 seconds, handed it off, had he gotten tackled there, we probably would have had to call a timeout and we'd have had 8-9 seconds to go. Now with no timeouts, now you're in a really tough situation. So had we saved the 4 seconds, even if we didn't make it on that ball, we handed off where Tyree ran the guy over and scored, we could have had 13 seconds. We could have called a timeout with 13 seconds, used our last timeout, and still felt like you had 2 plays to go. So it didn't cost us in the long run because we scored, but initially it cost us 4 seconds, and could have been something where we wouldn't have had the opportunity to take the shot at scoring a touchdown and would have had to settle for a field goal and could have been different.
Look, you've said before Mabry has to be ready because he's one play away, got his first snaps. What's your assessment on where you think he's at from where he was in the spring based on the conversation?
Well, he's a lot further than he was in the spring. He's a lot further than he was in fall camp. And I've talked about the tough situation for him was those guys were battling in front of him, so he wasn't getting many opportunities to even run with the twos. He probably had a handful of snaps in all of fall camp with the twos, and it's hard to learn. And not that it's hard to learn playing with the third group, but even for me, I would say I don't want the third group doing a whole lot. I want to see those guys just play. So he was limited to be able to make checks and things that they want to do as a quarterback. Because I didn't want that. We were trying to evaluate a lot of young guys to see, okay, the simple things that we can do, who can we see can play the game of football? And so that kind of hindered his growth a little bit. But I think even in the last 4 weeks, I've seen an incredible growth and just the knowledge of the game, his ability to go out there, practice, we try to put him under pressure and him to handle the pressure of the things that we're doing in practice and be successful with it. So he's on a really good track. He got his first opportunity to go in there on Saturday. It was a situation where, look, we're not trying to, even though you want to get a young guy some opportunities, it's not, I don't think it's the right thing to do to just say, hey, open it up and, let him sling the ball around a little bit, let him make checks. He was going to throw the ball one time. So it's just one of those situations. But the game experience, being out there in front of the crowd, like there's some things he did a really good job of and how he handled it.
Look, we see you between drives or right before the offense is about to go out there, talk to Braden, kind of give him a quick message. What are some of those messages that you try to give him? And then how have you seen his personality kind of grow throughout the year plus he's been here?
No, I don't try to do too much with him. Obviously, the confidence level and just making sure guys are assured. If there's little situational stuff, I'll remind, right? I'm, always in the idea of, hey, let's make sure we take care of the football. You got enough people around you. This isn't all on you. But really, it's just it's positive encouragement, making sure they understand you're there and you're a part of everything that they're doing. And there's a lot of things that go on within that game. That as a coach, you're watching, and it's not just the game itself. It's body language, it's demeanor, it's how guys handle and react to things. And I thought it was for me, truly evaluating him after the 2 interceptions was a big deal. and how he handles it, how he goes back to the bench, what he does when he goes back to the bench. And so that's where I think a lot of guys, gain even more confidence in him, the people that are around you, when they see how you handle some of those situations.
Luke, from the running back position, we saw a lot of different routes kind of being run. We saw Darion get the catch, Cade got the explosive off the Texas route. Do you think that with some of the running
route, you got the routes and everything. Maybe is that on the Madden game or something?
It's out there.
I don't know. I don't play it, but go ahead.
But no, do you think with the different slew backs that you're able to kind of play, that you're able to kind of get out with them?
Yeah, I think we've had this conversation with the backs a little bit too. That you love when you got guys that have different abilities, and not that you don't want them all to have ability. They all have the ability to run the football. They all have the ability to catch the ball. But I think it's unique when you've got some guys that are a little bit different, and I think that's where Tywee and Darion Dupree are different. Both can carry the ball. Both can be effective pass protection and catch the ball, but are different. And then you throw Cade Yakamele into the mix, and he's different as well. He's a little bit more in what I would say in the realm of Tywee in some ways, in some situations, and with a little bit more of a uniqueness of really good ball skills and things that can be caught. But I think those guys right now in particular give us a little bit of a different dynamic. And I think that's what, to me, is always good when you've got in a group, right? I mean, it's just like pass rushers. If the one field side end goes in and the next guy comes in and he does the same things, it doesn't make it as difficult on the guy that's in front of him. And so the ability to be able to move those guys, sub those guys, they all can run the football. It's not like, well, when so-and-so's in, then they're throwing it. But they do have different skill sets that give them opportunities to maybe do some different things.
So Braden's role has obviously changed a lot since week one, Tywee as well. How have those guys adjusted to their new roles in the last couple of weeks?
I don't think they've had to adjust. I mean, they're guys that had an expectation that they were going to play a lot, and even if that meant they were going to be the guy, right? I mean, I think they all in their mind had an expectation, and that might not have been what everybody thought to start with, right? I mean, okay, will Braden really be a starting quarterback? Will Tywee really be a starting running back? But I think the best thing for those guys is they had that expectation. So the only thing that's changed a little bit more for them is just their ability to be in front of the group. I think their ability to recognize that more people are watching them. They have an effect on more people. But I think the good thing for us is that's a little bit more in their nature. I think that's where Braden has really grown from last year to this year. Had no idea on Tywee, obviously, as he walked in here in January. But over the 6 months or 7 months that he's been here, you've recognized that where he might not be an overly outgoing guy, he really does do a great job at kind of conforming that whole room and being a leader in his own way. And because he has he has the ability to kind of connect with those even younger guys. And that's not something that I would have known or expected, and not something that maybe I saw enough from Braden in year one where, obviously Tywee, it's natural to him, and Braden has grown a lot in that realm. So they're going to continue to have to grow. Their roles on the field, I don't know, change a ton, but their leadership is going to continue to grow.
I know it's Monday and we got 5-6 days before the game, but as far as Will and Bryson and Henry,
we don't know. It's still Monday. We'll take it day to day, day by day. Hopefully those guys will be able to. If they're not able to practice, it's really hard to think they're going to perform in a game. And at that position in particular, it's there's a lot of things that go into a week. So it's early yet. We'll find out where they are on a Tuesday. They didn't. None of them really did a ton, I think, on Sunday. But who knows?
Rutgers runs so much of their offense through Kyle Monangai. What stands out to you as you watch him on film and how
Who's that?
Kyle Monangai, their running back?
Well, I mean, again, we faced him last year. I think he is, I don't say the heart of the team, but the heart of the offense, meaning that he's going to get his touches, and as he goes, they go. And that doesn't mean they don't make big plays other ways. Obviously, taking some shots down the field, but I think that's really truly his ability to kind of create the mojo in what they do. He's a physical downhill back. That I don't know that I was surprised by him last year. I thought we did a pretty good job against him. But after the game, I was really impressed with just his physicality, his ability to, no matter what you did, he continued to grind and grow. And he takes care of the football. I think that's a big part of what it is that they do.
Coach Sebastian Cheeks at outside linebacker, he got a sack and a half in this game, was able to finish a play. How has he kind of opened up opportunities for you guys at outside linebacker?
He has. We didn't move him to outside linebacker, until late in camp. And he's just been continuing to grow his ability to, kind of eliminate some of the mistakes because he hadn't played it a whole lot was really the only thing in the first 3 or 4 weeks that maybe it held him back from playing more. And it's not his fault. It's just, heck, he would never played a snap of that there in spring football. And the first 3 weeks of fall camp didn't play a snap of it. So his ability to grow, because he does, like we're talking about with the running back room, he gives you something that's a little bit different. So when he goes in there, as opposed to Leon Lowry or even Daryl Peterson, like he gives you something that's a little bit different. So guys have to, recognize that and play him a little bit different. His ability to be consistent is what's giving him more opportunities to be out there. He made some plays on Saturday. I wasn't sure officially what he was, whether it was a sack and a half or not. But his role will continue to grow, and it's not just a third down role.
Luke, I know this is last week's news, but Ches stepping away from the program, what kind of conversations, if at all, did you have with him, and how did that all play out?
It's not my spot to sit up here and to speculate on all the things that going through him. But I probably had a good hour, 2 hours of conversations with him. Spent a lot of time with him, and it just is what it is. It's for him to be able to get away and try to get healthy. To be honest with you, we all have this expectation that played the game. Your mind and your body have this expectation how you're going to play, and when you can't do that, it makes it really difficult. And sometimes that's because you can't do it because maybe the opportunities aren't there, and then sometimes deep down inside maybe the health of things aren't there. Right? Sometimes as we get older, I compared it a little bit. I don't want to say me, but at some point in time, I stopped wrestling because where my mind was and where I wanted to be, I probably wasn't, in a short amount of time where I was going to get to. And so it was it was a tough thing, but it wasn't like, I'm out of here or get out of here. I mean, it's like we spent a lot of time together, had a lot of conversations. We'll continue to communicate, and who knows what it'll lead to. But, it's just one of those situations that's not the easiest thing in the world. And he's been through a lot. He's done a lot. And, I think his body just right now isn't where his mind is. Thanks.